It's on. I might have a reaction. Shh, be quiet. Turn off all your social media. Let's watch this. See you on the other side of the intro. Welcome to the Vlogging Dead. I knew it! I knew it! Wow. I just lost half my notes. Let's do that again. Wow, guys. There is a lot to talk about tonight. And after seeing the end of the episode, and then, of course, the beginning, it's like almost nothing else in the middle matters now. So, I made just a few notes. You can see this, just a few. So if you guys haven't watched last night's episode or whatever, and you don't want any spoilers, then tune out now because I'm about ready to spoil everything right now. Glenn lives! And I knew it! And a lot of us knew it. But I called it, and I feel good about that. Glenn meets up with Enid, so we find out what's happening with her. And she's a little, basically, in my opinion, going through a teenage stage in the zombie apocalypse, dealing with separation anxiety, dealing with the world is coming to an end, so F everything anyway. And then, of course, Glenn tries to give her some advice to deal with that. It's interesting at the beginning when Rick is giving the, kind of like the you know, things will be okay kind of speech to Maggie when they're talking about, you know, Glenn and the others being out there and not knowing if they're okay or not. Rick is trying to cheer her up a little bit. And it's interesting that Maggie brings up Judith is starting to look a lot like Lori. Yeah. She's about ready to be a mama, so she's got the mama brain. Note number 1. Done. Another interesting point early on is when Rick passes Father Gabriel. And they almost just about like butt shoulders, but they just like touch shoulders, don't even acknowledge each other. And Father Gabriel's posting signs for, you know, a gathering or whatever, and Rick tears them down, and then Gabriel goes and just puts more up right behind him. I'm confused as to what happened between then, and wasn't it Father Gabriel that was in the bed, in the doctor's bed? Did I miss something? I can't remember the kid's name, but Enid's boyfriend or whatever that Rick and Carl were teaching how to shoot. And do you guys see this? I saw this early on because there's so much friction between the kid and Carl. There's just like way too much friction there. And you teach somebody how to use a gun that's not not all there, things are going to happen. And we see it later in the episode that, you know, he's actually shadowing Carl and something bad was about ready to happen, but nothing happened. Because at the very end of the episode, Carl shows up and dude's not behind him anymore. We also see kind of some of the old committee that we used to see back at the prison, like episodes ago, with Michonne and Rick and Carol, all basically talking to Morgan and trying to find out on whether he can kill. And, you know, everybody says, you know, in this society, what we do now, we have to, because the wolves, they cause so many problems, the ones that he let go. And he doesn't know that if he's going to be able to do that. So the question is Morgan, should he be allowed to stay there if he's going to let people like this go and then cause problems like I think what we see at the end of the episode? Because that's a bad problem. Oh, that's a bad problem. Like I said, most of this stuff right here doesn't matter anymore. It's the end. The end is what matters. So we see Eugene come back into this episode more than we've seen him in the last several. But he hasn't changed much. Even through all of this that we've seen him go through, he is still this timid, shy person that doesn't want to participate in anything, and basically feeling, in my eyes, like everybody's still going to protect him. He's, you know, so he got talked to a little bit tonight, and we'll see if, you know, if anything changes. But even up in the tower, when was it Tara? When she tells him to talk to Carol and the other guards and have them fire their weapons so that they will hopefully bring the walkers away from the current situation, he doesn't do it. Doesn't take the order. Just like, well, you know, I'm Eugene and I highly don't think that, no, yeah, bad. Flashback to Enid and Glenn, when Glenn is trying to get her and take her back with him, and she's just like resisting not to go, and then she pulls a gun on him, and he's able to get it away from her. But the line that I think that I'm quoting from this episode, I think the best line was when she called him an asshole, and he said, "You point a gun at me and I'm the asshole?" I got a chuckle out of that. It was funny. Had to laugh. And of course, like I mentioned at the beginning too, as Enid and Glenn came back, they were talking about the balloons and using them as a signal. And so they kind of started to work together a little bit until Glenn tried getting into her head a little bit and, giving her some direction. And she's like, we don't need to talk. And of course, when a teenager says it again, we don't need to talk, you know that a teenager means business. So we see the one boy that Rick and Carl were giving shooting lessons to go and steal some bullets. And when he was taking the lessons, he was like a little bit overzealous to get bullets. And I think that Rick noticed that just a little bit. So there's going to be some friction, some danger, and some BS that's going to come from that, I think. So at one point in the episode, Morgan goes to the new doctor. Again, I don't know her name, but he gets her at the end of the episode to come with him because he has a secret, and we all know that he's got a wolf in captivity, basically, and he is hurt, and he's trying to get her to come and help him to get him, nurse him back to health, I guess. And Carol's off watching these two walk across the yard or down the street, and so she follows them, and we get to see Judith again. Judith has changed a lot. So at the end of the episode, we have a bunch of questions. Of course, the big building falls, and during the episode, we were watching like pieces come off of it, and I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. What are they doing? But they would usually cut to the makeshift construction that Rick was doing with the wood, and I didn't really understand that. If the walls were holding, then there's no reason really to reinforce them. But, whatever. But we see the building fall, and it takes out the freaking wall. Oh, that's horrible. That is so horrible. So the question is the person that was taking the building down, obviously on purpose, obviously slowly, obviously on the down low, was that one of the wolves? Or was it somebody else? Who do you guys think? Post it down in the comments. So the last question of the night is also something that was not answered in tonight's episode. Who was the person on the walkie-talkie last episode that Daryl heard say, help? We still don't know who that is. I don't think it was Glenn, unless there's a little bit of timeline difference in there. But it appears that Glenn and Enid are okay because, of course, we see the balloons go up, and then that kind of lifts up the spirits of, Maggie and Rick and everybody until the freaking wall comes down. And that's where the episode ends, and that's where we're going to end. So you guys post your comments down below. I'll take a look at them during the week and answer what I can. Happy haunting, and see you next week. If you guys don't follow the vlogs, then please, by all means, do so. Right here on this channel, we have a daily Halloween vlog. Kind of changed a little bit with Christmas coming in, but we got a daily vlog, and it's fairly entertaining. So hope to see you there. Happy haunting, guys. See you next week.